You're listening to the Premier Podcast Network. Welcome to the pinnacle of wrestling entertainment, Premier Streaming Network. Join us at watchonpremier.com to unlock the ultimate wrestling experience. Curated to perfection. Immerse yourself in the spectacular world of wrestling history, where classic battles and unforgettable moments are at your fingertips. Join us today and experience the epitome of curated wrestling content. Because when it comes to wrestling entertainment, Premier sets the standard. Be Premier.
Hey everybody, wow, this is Dominic, DeAngelo. I am of several networks, outlets, whatever you want to call them, but I'm here today on the Premier Streaming Network with none other than Mr. Rob Van Dam for One of a Kind with RVD. Rob, episode 8. Does it feel like we've done 8 episodes? Plus an extra one too in the can.
Right, that was not even going to be relevant if we ever do have to use it, if I'm too busy or something, but I guess so, and it feels like we've been going for a little while. It feels like it's becoming a little more fluid. A little, I don't know. It's like it's becoming a little more fun. You know, like after every episode lately, it seems like hey man, that was a good time, just chatting and talking about stuff I wouldn't think of talking about by myself, and couldn't do it without you, dude. You're a good host.
Thanks, Rob. I appreciate it, man. Yeah. You're great to work with and everything like that. I really enjoy doing this, and so it's been a lot of fun and got some fun feedback and all that stuff. I'll read a few of it here today. But hey, we kind of did almost basically another episode here just yesterday, and how cool was that? We talked about Dan Masters, had Ben Masters on there, and then Mr. Scotty Riggs as well. That was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, I thought it went really well, and I think that was the go away feeling from both those guys too, Ben Masters and Scotty Riggs too. I think everyone enjoyed it. You know, those are my friends, so we enjoy being together and haven't talked to either one of them in a long time, except maybe just a text here and there. But it'd been I guess last time I would have seen Ben would have been probably in the TNA days, like the first time, so like 2011-ish, and Scotty.
We were saying like maybe
before that, I think,
or something, yeah. Or so, he was around TNA time too, I think. But
yeah, maybe he showed up like one time. It wasn't around much, yeah, but he like I said yesterday, he was on the 10-year on, 10-year off program, so
right.
back on.
Well, yeah, no. Cool to learn about Dan Masters and everything, like the influence that he had and the kind of personality he had and stuff like that. And you guys shared a lot of good stories. It was kind of neat to just kind of be a fly on the wall for a good amount of it too. And
I believe his brother was watching the show as well, so he really enjoyed hearing everybody talk about Dan, and also is curious about the same mysteries that we are surrounding his passing. So I saw that message as well. You know,
Ben sent me that as well.
If we find anything out.
Yeah, hopefully we can do some little discovery here or something like that. But yeah, man. So it's gonna be a good episode, I think, today. I don't want to assume anything, but we have some good stuff. YouTube Chris gave me some good notes, but let's. I got some feedback here from that I pulled up from there. Feedback starting off here. We got Home DZ Fashion Easy 5662 on YouTube 2 days ago says RVD does some pretty good impressions from time to time. His HBK impression is classic. Rob, do you have a favorite impression that you can do?
No, you know what it is? I think it's just commitment. You know, like when I'm telling a story and I'm trying to get the point across, I'm just kind of like committed. That's the same thing with wrestling. Katie was just talking about this to somebody, it's talked about often, but if I'm like not in an actual match, but I'm talking over, someone wants to know how to do a move or whatever, I'm always hurting people, always. And it's because I'm committed to it. You know what I mean? So so I'm going to tell them, you grab them by the ankle right here and just like, bam, and like slam it into the ground. And, and I'm not like really thinking about that. I'm going to send this person to the hospital, but it happens a lot. And that's something that I'm guilty of, but it's commitment, so it's just paying attention and telling the stories. I don't know. A lot of mine sound similar.
See, there's distinct differences I can tell, because you thought your DDP and Heyman sounded too much alike. No, was it DDP and Heyman, or was it DDP and somebody else? But either way,
be around them though. I got to be around them though a bit. You know what I mean? Like it's hard. I used to do Johnny Ace all the time, babe. It was when I was around him all the time, and it was just in my head. Like now, it's almost like I got to remember. Like,
you got to conjure it up a little bit.
Yeah,
you're right. I don't know. Geez, if I had to pick a favorite one, so far I think it's Heyman, but Sheik's a close second, I think, for me that you've done. Gaylord Fokker 7992 2 days ago says RVD's crib looks like a chill lounge bar. Hey, Scotty said the same thing. He liked your kitchen there, man.
And as I said, you're welcome to stay over if you're not a dude.
That's right. If you're not a dude. Well, I think Gaylord Fokker is probably a dude. So.
Probably so. Yeah.
Yep.
We talked about that on the live episode. I made Ben feel uninvited if he was ever in town.
But you offered maybe a hotel or something like that.
Hey, yeah, I've lived the hotel life. To me, it's awkward when someone wants me to stay at their house when I can stay in a perfectly good hotel right down the street. It's just, it's subjective, which is the better option.
It's a matter of being like privacy too is kind of a nice thing, and just being like, hey, and you said it too, like if you're in a hotel room or whatever, you're gonna throw your gear around, hang your gear up. You don't want to have another person in there.
Yeah, I'm gonna poop 5 times a day. It's not fun at someone else's house.
No, I don't want to be. Yeah, exactly. I'm in the same boat. Robert Walker 7979 6 days ago. This is a good one because you mentioned how you grew up in suburbia, small townish area of Battle Creek, and this kind of reflects this. As a black kid that went to a school where I was one of a handful of black kids there. Thanks, RVD, for shouting us out. You have been invited to the barbecues for decades now. So
yeah, I've had a hood pass for years. That's I first heard that way back in early 2000, 2001 or 2002 or whatever. Me and Booker would ride around and run into some bros or whatever. And they're like, man, you always got a hood pass. I know. RVD's good in any hood.
That's it, man. That's it. It's the good vibrations.
Yeah. Our I wonder if it's like that still. Maybe I'll find out when I go back in September. But Penfield, we had 1 or 2 black kids in each grade. I remember one Indian kid, Sanjay Patel. Man, there was one other Polish kid besides me, and he changed his name.
Really?
It was Jastrzębowski, and he changed it to J, Bob J.
Dang it.
Well, there was one other one too. That's the thing is, I was the Zatkowskis, had an older brother and sister, and there was one other family, and it was Sabatowskis. And they had a few generations, so the teachers were confused, and a lot of times they would call me that, and it would offend me as a dumb little kid. But Bob J should have been there and had our backs too, but his parents thought, no, it's too hard for people to say. But I remember in gym class, Mr. Larson trying to yell at me because I wasn't where I was supposed to be or whatever, and he's like, Sabatowski! And I just ignore him and he'd be screaming at me, Sabatowski! Screaming at me, and I would just, casually look around because it wasn't my name. You know?
Right.
It gets so mad. R.I.P. Mr. Larson.
What was the big ethnicity contingency there?
I guess it was just Caucasian white. I didn't really even notice as a kid. I'm thinking back at it now. You know what I mean? So I didn't even know, like, I still don't even know what a Jew is. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't always think of stuff like that.
Yeah. No, I similar to me too. I grew up in an area we literally had like maybe like 2 or 4 black kids in our school. That was it. And then
then there was a downtown Battle Creek Central. That's where there was a higher population of black kids, and so it seemed like that's where the majority of them would be found in our city.
Yeah,
just spaced around. Yeah.
Yeah.
They probably just had a couple of white kids in their school too. I don't know. But it's also crazy when you think like segregation just ended in 68. I started going to school, like 7 years later, something like that. So, yeah.
That's really wild to think, actually. Holy shit.
Yeah. It's not like it was overnight, like boom, like everything changed,
Right?
Like,
no, I'm sure gradual kind of process too.
Very much like cannabis prohibition. There's still the oppressors that don't know that they're fighting a losing fight now, and that common sense is won. So they're still in there laughing at the thought of being high. It just makes people laugh.
Dude, it's like every day, like nowadays too. If I smell weed, it's just like, hey, it's what it is now, and it's it's been a long time.
Except for in 12 states.
That's crazy to think.
Yeah.
Crazy to think. All right, Extreme Pop 324. 23 hours ago said, I'd love to see a new indie promotion if controlled by RVD, Dreamer, Al Snow, Sabu, and Raven. You would probably never want to run a promotion, would you, Rob?
I don't believe in absolutes. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we've talked about that.
Yeah, you mentioned it, I think, before.
Well, but it's never been something, and at least not in my adult life, that I don't know. The more I keep trying to say it, I keep thinking like, oh shit, I can't talk to him. That's my lawyer, but I just got sidetracked. So I'm thinking a couple different things. One, when I was a kid and I had the kickboxing ring in my yard, and Kit left it there for a long time, and then I didn't hear from him. I was going around trying to promote my shows, going to the same venues that he had done shows at, that I had been with him at, and trying to get them interested in doing another show. And if he left a bad taste in their mouth, I was like, no, there's a new sheriff in town, and that was at like 18. And then I did run shows with Greg Price in 93 when I left WCW. I started, I was 50-50 partner with Greg Price, and we ran these shows. And Greg had all the experience in the world, but we split up our duties. But it was our shows under the name of All Star Wrestling. Might have been a couple other names too, but all over Georgia, the Carolinas, and I did that for quite a while. So I can't say that it's never, been something that I've been interested in as an opportunist, but it's not something that I foresee, and it's definitely not a passion that's on my front burner.
If you had to say at a certain aspect of it that you would excel at, what would you think you would most excel at in that kind of realm?
So in the wrestling industry, outside of talent, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I don't know. I don't know that when a lot of agents, when I think of the agents, and I don't mean to insult any, but just from subjective to my views being there, it was the kind of job that to me as talent they looked kind of like stooges, and that's because they seemed afraid, for their job and wanting to make the right calls and hoping the matches that they got assigned to were the better matches of the night. which is also subjective, and and wanting to make Vince happy and wanting to be on the winning side of any debate, and they were just, so I don't know that I would, outside of that, I mean, it could be a real important job in Egypt, but and I don't think I got the patience to be a trainer. Like I can tell somebody one or two times, and then I've said it. Like, dude, I told you not to do that. Why do you keep doing that? I'm done. Like, I'm not, I'm banging my head on the wall. And I hurt people when I'm training them. So I don't know. Frontman, president, something. I don't know. You tell me.
There you go. I think if the handcuffs were kind of off of like, to your point, it's like if you're an agent and you're kind of like wondering about, what when the hammer's going to drop or kind of concerned for your job and well-being and stuff. If the pressure's off like that, I'm sure you could be pretty darn good at that, though.
I love Terry Taylor. I learned to eventually. Mm-hmm. But when he first got a job at WWE, and I don't mean the first time ever, but I mean when he came aboard after I'd been there for a while and he wasn't there, and he came on as an agent, he seemed to, for some reason, decide to pick me as a project of his or something, because I had some bad habits. I was not always easy to find. I was out in the parking lot a lot when somebody might be looking for me. I showed up late. I was not the first guy to want to talk over a match and at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Quite the opposite, and so that bothered me though, and I was, some of the boys are also afraid for the job as talent. Some of them look at the agents like the agents are above them, and some look at it the opposite way, But anyway, it seems like it was a WrestleMania, but it probably wasn't. It was some kind of 6-man. I don't know. There was something, and then. Earlier in the day, Terry Taylor was going over this idea that he had, and it was like the Dudleys, me and somebody were wrestling the Dudleys and Lance Storm. And he was like, Terry was like, is there, way, like if you were like thrown in, like shit canned in from the floor, is there a way like you could like naturally like, like roll onto Lance, as I remember it being anyway. I could be wrong about that, but as a pinfall, for the cover. And I was like, yeah, I'll just dive in and roll into the pin, and you want to see it, and I think I actually like did it, and he was like, oh, okay, yeah. Whatever, right? We had that talk. So a little while later, they're wanting to get down by the ring and go over shit again, which I, wasn't a fan of. That just wasn't my style. And I was out smoking or whatever. And then when I as I came in, everybody was coming up to me and saying, "Hey, Terry Taylor's looking for you, man." And I was like, "Oh, okay," And I'd walk down. Someone else, "Hey, have you seen Terry Taylor? He was looking for you." And I was like, that motherfucker, and it seemed like I heard it like at least 4 times, maybe 5 times. Hey, Terry Taylor's looking for you. Yeah, I've seen it. Like, okay, got it. And I went out there, and Terry's like, hey, he goes, hey, I can't have you like, I'm not able to find you, when I need you. And I said, what do you need me for, dude? And I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. We all got, because it was international or something. I was like, we all got shuttled to the building. It's not like I drove off. What do you need me for? And he went over, and it was as if he thought that he was like, I don't know, like making animated moves for a video game. Like he was being like so dramatic. Yeah. It was obvious to me that he felt like he was being watched, and he came over and he was like, can you come over and like, and if someone's throwing you in, can you like roll in and end up covering? And he's like doing all this, with me, and I'm just looking at him like he's got a screw loose, just looking at him, and he's like, boom, so not like this, but boom, and you end up like on top, and now boom. And I looked at him and I'm like, yeah, of course I can. We already talked about this. And he goes, oh, we did? And I said, yeah. And we already talked about it. I said, I could do it. And he goes, oh. He goes, well, then why am I telling you again? I go, I think you're trying to validate your job, if I'm not mistaken. and then like the next day, the next TV day, I told everybody that I passed, everybody, hey, if you see Terry Taylor, tell him I'm looking for him. Everybody.
That's great. So he's kind of like putting on a show, like kind of like being like,
as if he's being watched, and he wants people to know that he's out there trying and doing work. You know what I mean? Like a little extra work in that work.
Oh, yep, all about politicizing or whatever. Oh, all right. Well, hey, so did you? Obviously we talk about wrestling, but did you happen to watch any wrestling before we last week? Anything pass you by?
Man, I turned it on for a minute and then got distracted. I can't remember what match it was that I watched.
WWE?
I'm not even sure.
Yeah. I did want to ask, it was funny because Ben Masters, I think, brought it up yesterday, was how when you were down there, you wrestled barefoot.
Wrestled who?
You wrestled barefoot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Talk about that a little bit. What was that kind of like transition out of that? And what inspired you to do it at first? Was it just your martial arts background? And then what?
That was it. Like my first few matches wrestling for the Sheik, I had blue trunks that he gave me, 2 shades, a dark and a lighter blue. And they were so tight. And he taught us that you have to get them wet to put them on, and that they were really secure and tight. And he said that was how you do wrestling trunks. And I ordered Ringside Products boxing boots. They were white, and that's what I wore, like in USWA, and I guess white wrist tape probably on my wrists. And that's how I started out when I just needed something to get in the ring and get some experience. When I started trying to develop a character, I already had the name Rob Van Dam, I guess it went along with that. When Ron Slinker in November or December of 91, November, I guess, when we opened up the Sportatorium, he had me, he called me Rob Van Dam instead of Rob Zakowski or Robbie Z or anything else that I'd wrestle as. So I thought it was up to me to come up with a gimmick, and I got that. I'm trying to think of who made it. It's the singlet, but I can't remember exactly what magazine I got it from. But I just had a black, 2-strapped singlet. Sounds like it would be one, but it's not a doublet. It's called a singlet.
Not a doublet.
Yeah, but anyway, in my mind, I tried to get the look that Lionheart had when Jean-Claude was in the swimming pool, the empty swimming pool, fighting in Lionheart, because I was a big fan of that. So actually first I just wore like spandex pants, just the shorts, just the spandex shorts. And then I guess maybe it evolved quickly into the top, the whole thing. But around that time, I went barefoot, and I just thought it would be expected because I was martial arts, and I thought maybe it would help make me crazy because I dove to the floor and wrestled, a style like that even back then, and doing that barefoot, I thought would make me look tougher. One time I was wrestling Pistol Pez Watley, and I did a step behind sidekick. We're both on the floor, and my base leg slid with some spilled beer on the floor, and just sliding like that, I got a hairline fracture in my foot. And that's the first time I remember really getting hurt and thinking like, wow, my feet are getting pretty beat up, because I'd be in a cast. I was non-weight bearing for a minute, and had to go through the whole healing process. And I was taping my ankles more and more. And then Giant Baba in Japan, after a tour or two, maybe, told me he wanted me to start wearing boots.
Oh,
And at first I gave him pushback, like, no, I want to be different. I don't want to be like everyone else. And he was like, it's going to be better for you. It's going to make your feet last longer. He didn't, I'm paraphrasing, but he said that in his Baba talk. And I'm really glad that he did, because my feet were getting beat up. They did, even with the boots, because I never wore like regular wrestling boots like other wrestlers, especially back in the day, probably still, but they'd have extra thick soles so they look bigger. And I was like, I'm not gonna be able to control my kicks or jump and bounce off the ropes with extra thick soles. So I wore boxing boots. And then eventually, when I did go to a pro wrestling boot company, I had them specially made with extra thin soles on the bottom for my style.
Wow. All right. So that's interesting, because I always just thought it was like your choice. I'm moving away from but I didn't even know that like Giant Papa was. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
At
the same time, he wanted me to wear like some bright colors or something like that. And that's when I started getting my stuff airbrushed.
Wow. How about that? Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, how was it working with Baba overall as like a promoter and stuff? Like your interaction?
It was great. Like I knew right away, everyone that had anything to say about him just said he was completely trustworthy, first-class guy. He's never going to screw you over. If you're loyal to him, he's loyal to you. And so I just knew right away to expect great things from him, and he was awesome.
That's odd. Yeah. And that's what I heard too about him too, is like, I know Bruno Sammartino was super loyal to him. And even when like WWE had like a New Japan connection for a little bit, he still wanted to do All Japan with Baba. And then Terry Funk, I know, was big on it. And yeah, he had that, base of American wrestlers that would go over there for sure. Mm-hmm.
It was an honor, like being around Japan. If you mentioned his name, if you're, I don't know, at a restaurant or something, and they're asking, if you're a wrestler, and pro wrestler this, or whatever, you be, if you were like, hi, Baba-san, oh, Baba-san, like, he really carries a lot of weight. And, and Inoki as well. Those two guys both ended up splitting off and running their own competitive companies from one main tree that was ran under Ricky Dosan.
Ricky Dosan, yeah.
And Ricky Dosan's daughter now is in the office at Noah, and she's the one that I was working with last summer.
No way. Wow.
Yeah, Nasawa is the wrestler, who's a big ECW fan. They always wants to book these hardcore matches and wanted to book me. But she was the office lady that I dealt with about the flights and all the COVID bullshit and everything. But she's that's what she's doing now. Ricky Dosan's daughter.
No way. Wow, that's crazy. That legacy's still going on too, and from way back when like that too. Wow.
I just read in the Sheik's book recently that he was murdered, Ricky, and I didn't know that. I would be curious to have that conversation with her.
I think it was like the Yakuza or something too, right? I think I think
so. Yeah.
That's wild. Yeah, the history of wrestling is nuts. It's crazy. All right, another thing I kind of wanted to. This was an interesting one that popped up here earlier. Was yesterday, I believe it was, that Jerry McDevitt, the famous attorney for WWE, he based out of Pittsburgh too, retired. Did you have any interactions with Jerry McDevitt at all?
I don't believe so. Not that I remember.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Because I mean, like, anytime WWE had a case going against them, it was like, oh, they got Jerry McDevitt, it's going to be fine. So, yeah, I was curious if you had any interactions with him. But
no, I don't think so. I saw him on whatever the special was. Whether, I don't know if it was dark. Yeah, I guess it was.
Probably the Dark Side, yeah.
Side. I think it was the big steroid scandal case. And it made him look very powerful.
Oh, yeah. So definitely a change of era here if he's done. So something we didn't mention, too, you going to Israel on September 14th, right? Payas Arena in Jerusalem. All Stars Israel will be the first professional wrestling show in Israel since 1994. It takes place on September 14th. Among the matches, a three-way bout between RVD, Frankie Kazarian, and Psycho Clown has been advertised for the show. You've worked with Frankie before, right? And
Yep. And what's interesting is I've known Frankie forever. I met him way back in California days for this group called UPW, which was ran by Rick Bassman.
Okay.
A lot of the guys, John Cena was there. John Heidenreich, I think, was there. Victoria, Lisa, Mikey Henderson. There's a few of the guys that I've just known ever since then, which must have been, I guess, probably 98.
Samoa Joe out of there too for a little bit or something. I'm trying to think.
I think he was. I think he wrestled. I think so. I don't know if he started there or went through there, but yeah. Now that you mention it, yeah. I totally remember a specific show, talking to him and hanging out with him. Now that so anyway, that guy Rick Bassman is the same guy that's that's booking us for this. So that's pretty interesting because I've known Frankie through him.
Wow, that's definitely full circle too, right there. Holy smokes!
Yeah,
jeez, you pretty excited for that experience and stuff? Because I think, have you ever wrestled over there in Israel?
I have not, and no, I'm not excited.
Oh, okay. The travel and stuff is. Ooh.
That's mostly what it is. I mean, for me, and you said what, the 14th?
14th, yep.
So on the 16th, I'm in Hamburg, Pennsylvania, at a convention.
Oh shit!
Signing autographs. So I'm thinking of how tight that is. But they're a day ahead of us in Israel. I'll get excited about it. Right now, still working on making me comfortable with some stuff like that. So. Once I get there, but then, and then right after, and I think there's somewhere right before that too. I think I'm somewhere September 5th. Is it Orlando, maybe, or Detroit? I think it's Detroit. And anyway, and then September 30th is the big return show to Battle Creek. So it's gonna be a really busy month.
It's gonna be a huge busy month.
That's some of it.
Just a touch of it is all.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's good to be RVD though, but it is. Yeah, I mean, here's my happy face.
There you go.
My excited face.
I like it.
But, it's not too often I get to add a new country to my list. One time somebody said, have you ever counted how many countries you've been to? And I was like, no. So we just sat there and I just started sitting at the bar or whatever, just started listing all the ones I could think of, and I got pretty close to 40. And I was like, I guess that's a lot,
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Have you been to all the states in America?
No.
Okay.
No, yeah. There's some I haven't been to. I probably have to look at a map or a list in order to tell you all of them, but then I might be wrong about a few of them. There's always some places I might forget. You know what I mean? I think I've been to South Dakota maybe once, North Dakota once or twice. I don't know. So, there's a little room for error there.
It's tough. I mean, I can only imagine too. You're just there. Sometimes you just go to a hotel and then you go to the arena or whatever. And so it's like, was I in a state? That's kind of
That happens, but there's definitely some states that for some reason wrestling doesn't seem to go to. If I've been to Wyoming, I don't know.
Awesome.
I don't know. Maybe, the fans in Wyoming could tell you, but
yeah, right.
There's some states like that though, and I don't know why.
Jeez, yeah, I know it blends together. I could, geez. All right. It's Wrestler Spotlight time, and we got a good one. So this week, YouTube Chris has a treat for you. This week's Spotlight is someone you knew very well. It is Katie.
Hey.
Yeah. So here we go.
All right.
Let's start at the beginning then. When and how did you and Katie meet?
Katie and I met at WrestleCon in Dallas in 2016. She was there at the Wildcats booth with Luke Hawks.
Okay.
And I was just a few booths away from her. And no, check this out. This guy, Brian Keenan.
Yeah.
He's calling right now.
Mm-hmm.
That was the end of my sentence.
No way.
I swear to God, dude, I've been telling you, this stuff happens. This is how plugged in I am to the universe with dude calling right before doing the Dan Masters show, all that. But anyway, I was about to say that I was a few tables away from Katie, and I was with this guy, Brian Keenan. He was my agent. Isn't that crazy?
That's so crazy.
Yeah. He calls right on the money. Bam.
Man.
That happens all the time. Like people ask, Dreamer asked me one time because I was really starting to get into synchronicity and I was journalizing everything. Like I'd write that down because there's messages there and you can uncover it. Like it gets deeper and deeper. Like you can just keep uncovering it and then they relate to each other, all these different synchronicities. And then, and every once in a while, I like to do that. But at this time, Dreamer was like, what's the advantage? And I was like, dude, you don't understand. Like, it's like I'm plugged into the universe and it's working for me. Like I'm with the flow. But what's the advantage? I mean, why? What's the difference? I go, it's like going down the road and every light turns green for you. You know what I mean? And you just know that everything is going your way. I mean, that's what the magic of this is, when you really get plugged into it. And he didn't get it, but when I was first discovering, I would have a list for everybody. I'd be like, dude, I was just talking about this guy. I hadn't talked to him in 4 years. And then he texted, but anyway, it happens a lot. We just have to open our eyes to it. Man, what's the first book that turned me on to that synchronicity? I believe it was the Celestine Prophecy, if anyone's interested.
Ooh, I'm interested because I definitely like that kind of stuff.
The Celestine Prophecy by James Renfield. It's a fictional book, but it's about the 9 insights to spiritual ascension. And the subject is very nonfiction. Like they tell a story of a guy going to Mount Pikachu or whatever, and learning step by step all these things that a lot of us that are like-minded like this, it changed our lives. There's so many people I've met that are like, dude, that got me into it too, because it turned us on to seeing everything as energy. And anyway, the book was so good. The movie, not so good, but there's nonfiction study guides to it as well because so many people liked the Celestine Prophecy. So there's like the Celestine Vision and there's sequels to it. And anyway, but before I get sidetracked, that's how Katie and I met. Was that she was a couple of rows over and Luke brought her over. She wanted to meet me. And I didn't know, but I was already on her radar. And she already had her eye on me. She was training with Wildcats, and she had asked Luke to bring me in because Luke would bring in some guys sometimes and do wrestling seminars. Guys that aren't as expensive maybe as RVD. And but she tried. And I didn't know about that. And so, Luke was like, hey, Rob, this is Katie, and that boom, I looked at her and I was just like, we don't shake hands, Katie, we hug. And I was like hugging her. Yeah. And I was like, hey, this chick's really letting me do this. Like I thought she'd, like I thought I was like jokingly trying to pass the creepy mark,
Right, yeah.
She loves it too though. And I was like, wow, you have amazing energy. Yeah.
Man, how about that? So, do you guys remember what you talked about to that day or anything like that? Or was it just a small interaction starting off?
It was pretty small. And, she went back to her table. And then I believe the next day, same thing. I think she came over and said hi. Just probably pretty quick. And then she slipped me her phone number as well. And then she was kind of upset that I didn't call her, but I didn't even know that I had it. Like she slid it in my bag or something.
Yeah.
But WrestleMania 2016 was very special in a not so good way for me, and stuff it was a crazy weekend for me. Not the WrestleMania itself, but it was like, you know, that it's definitely a good chapter in my book when I talk about hitting my rock bottom. And at the same time, yeah, dude, it included, let me give you a hint, it included a 13-hour blackout.
Oh my God.
And waking up and having to hear about all the shit that I did, I hated myself. But at the same time, it was like afterwards, I flew home to LA where I lived at the time. And I was just, I had the biggest spiritual hangover. It was horrible. I just, oh my God. And I got a text from her, and she had a picture of her by the ocean, and she was like right at the bottom of my hill.
Oh.
So she was synchronicity as well.
Yeah.
She didn't know where I lived, and she's from New Orleans. I lived in Palos Verdes at the time, and it's this big hill in the South Bay. And she happened to, after WrestleMania weekend, she went to LA and she was visiting her friend that lived at Redondo Beach, which is right at the bottom of the hill. She sent me a picture, and I'm like, dude, what the hell? Like, you're like 5 miles from me, tops. And, I was like, you want to go, get some lunch or something? That's what happened. So the universe put that one together too. It was amazing that she was right there. Like, I was like, dude, my house was almost in that photo.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Well, what do you remember from the first date?
I was there. I was experiencing that spiritual hangover, and it was lunchtime, like I picked her up in the afternoon, and we just went to some place in Redondo Beach. And we walked out on the beach. Pretty soon we were holding hands, like we knew each other like a long time and stuff walking on the beach, and just got along like really well. But I remember from what I remember, because my energy was so low, I was trying to tell her why she should run, and I was just, oh my God, like I'm going through so much because it's the divorce and all this point that I was at where I did not feel very valuable. And so, I was trying to tell her that, and I guess she liked it, whatever. She wanted a project, I guess, but but I was just telling her, and the one thing was I told her she remembers this. I don't exactly, but I told her, I said, oh my God, I said, I just found out what I did this weekend. And she thought that I said, I just found out I have kids this weekend. And so she thought for the rest of the day till later on that that's what I had said. Yeah. But we went out to the beach after that. And then I was like, hey, I gotta go do this podcast. It was with the Shamrock girl, the
Ryan Shamrock.
Yeah, her and her man, Uncle Eddie or something, some name MMA, something like that. But anyway, I said I can drop you off, back at your friend's pad if you want, or if you're having fun, you can come with me, and then I can drop you off, or we can go do something else, whatever, And she was like, I'll come with you. So I brought her with me to the podcast, during the whole headset, the interview, I had the whole headset. I kept, checking back and making sure she was cool and didn't feel ignored or whatever, because I didn't know,
Yeah.
And my evil ex was like the most insecure person in the world. She would have 10 minutes in, she would have left and just been like, you forgot I was there anyway, looking at that Shamrock girl, or I just didn't know. It took a long time. I'm still learning how cool Katie is. She's amazing. But after the podcast thing, then it was like, you want me to take you home, or we go get something to eat or whatever. And She's like, no, I'm having fun. So it ended up being like a really, really long first day that started early, and we ended up on Hollywood Boulevard, having some drinks and stuff. And she looked amazing the whole time.
Heck yeah. Well, so after that all happened, what happened like the days following after the first date and stuff? You guys just keep in contact, and was she living in LA at the time, or was
she living in New Orleans?
Okay, she was living in New Orleans, so she was just visiting with the friend.
Yeah, her friend Megan lived. They're great friends, best friends. Megan's awesome. I posted something. Oh, it was one of my videos when I came home from one of my trips and had to stop from Japan. Actually, synchronicity. We had to stop in LA, and Megan picked us up. Katie was with me because we had a few hours to kill, and we made a video. We're sitting up in a tree in a park, just smoking and stuff. And it was a fun video. Some people were, wanting to know more information about Megan because she's a little cutie too. But she lived in Redondo, and Katie was staying there for a little while. Like I don't know, a few days, 4 or 5 days. I don't know exactly, but I think we ended up going out a few times before she left town, and then not long after we were seeing each other like every 2 weeks, whether she was coming this way or I was going that way.
Oh, okay. So that's kind of cool. You kept the communication like that too, like making trips or whatever. Nice.
Yeah.
When did you kind of realize there was something special there between you guys? Was it on the first date, or when you guys kind of first met? When did you?
I knew she was always special, but it did take her telling me, that we were seeing each other, and that it wasn't cool to to be dating these other girls anymore. So, but when she let it be known, like she did, I believed her that she was telling me how much she thought of me, and I was like, wow, people don't just say that stuff, you know what I mean? Like she was, so I thought that, yeah, this girl's in love with me, and I just believed her. She believed me. She knew I wasn't lying to her, and she knew that I was honest, and that I respected being honest and credibility, and I held on to it all the way down with the burning ship with the Evil X, and she respected that. So even though some people would feel like, yeah, but you could have done whatever in retrospect because your Evil X was anyway, I wouldn't have earned the respect in myself or in Katie. You know what I mean? So she recognized that in me right away and knew, she doesn't have to worry about me cheating on her or lying to her, because I would hate that about myself, and I don't want to live that way. Right. I'd rather bring you in and have you deal with the consequences of something I did if I fucked up than hide it and then just let it get toxic and stuff. And I was even like that with Evil X, and she resented it because she was the opposite, and she would rather me lie to her, I think, and stuff. But that was a completely different relationship, complete different chemistry. But with Katie, it wasn't, she was special, but at first it was a little rough. We had some turbulence to work through until we really, really understood each other. And then boom, like, holy crap. Like I can't imagine. We tell each other every day, all day, how grateful we are to have each other and how much we love each other. And, and it's just real. Like we have such a bond that it's like, I find it would be almost impossible for one of us to be holding something, like in other relationships. And I've been in shitty ones before where I was not a good boyfriend, and it's like, the bond just wasn't there at all. But actually, I've never had a bond like this with anybody ever anyway. So I hope it's for everybody. I don't know, something to go for.
Yeah, right. No, I can tell just how little we've known each other for as short as a time. It's like you guys have a great vibe. It's like very good, So
Yeah, she's so fun and awesome, but also it's putting her priority, and that's something my advice my dad gave me, and that's why I was able to keep good values going through a crappy marriage, because my dad put it in me and made me want that, and he and I'd already experienced, being, like I said, being shitty before, but my dad said you should, I believed him, he's not everyone believes this, but this is our ideology. I repeat it, because it's exactly what I got from my dad. But as far as priorities go, when it comes to being married, I believed him. Like, if someone's going to be my partner in life and hold that very important position, I respect myself enough to think that person should be very respectable. You know what I mean? Like, that's the queen to you being the king. But he said, boom, if you can make that person your number one priority, always, no matter what, and never bring anything in between you, no secrets, no stories, nothing. And no matter what, if she needs you, you can go to her no matter what else is going on, and always have that. Then that's the right person. But it has to work both ways, And I was like, wow, that's so strong. And I was like, my mom and dad, they were together over 50 years, and before my dad passed. But I was like, wow, yeah, that's something really strong, and that sounds respectable,
Yeah. So you had a good foundation for that, for sure. Then,
yeah. And with the bond with me and Katie, like, it's just like when you have one that's works both ways in such a way that you both really know it, that that you would both never do anything to hurt the other one. It's an amazingly strong feeling, and that security is able to throw a lot of other issues in the trash that people have in relationships,
It
a lot
kind
of negative,
all the garbage.
Yeah. Not even just garbage, but even just little. It's all garbage, really, but different levels of it. Yeah, There's some really toxic relationships, and we know some couples, and we're just like, oh my God, these people love drama. They love punishing themselves. They love having broken hearts, I guess. Holy crap, because that's what they're attracted to. But then there's other people where it's just, some of it seems a little unnecessary, and it's just like maybe some of it's timing with where people are in their lives or whatever, or, something like that.
It's funny too, because like when you're in a good relationship and you see other people's relationships, it kind of elevates, like, oh my God, thank God I'm not dealing with that shit.
Yeah, true.
Well, talk about her wrestling career a little bit. What ways did you help mentor her, like in kind of like, whether it be in the ring or just having a mentality for the business or anything to that effect?
Not a whole lot, other than I think she understands my perspective when it's repeated a lot, like when when it's repeated, she understands my perspective, so that like when I pick things apart, if I'm pointing at stuff on TV, complaining or whatever, she gets that I feel like that. You know what I mean? Like, especially stuff that's repeated, that's common. So she understands that a lot from having that, that advantage of being around me while we're doing that. But hands-on training, not a whole lot. I've been in the ring with her very few times because of like what I was saying, because I'm so stiff. And right away when I met her, and then like the first couple times I went to a wrestling school with her, it was in LA, Santino Brothers. And man, she's going up top rope and jumping off like doing like a springboard off the middle and land on the guy and doing a hurricane rana. And I'm like, holy crap, like I couldn't believe that she was doing like all these moves. I was like, wow, you're acrobatic, that's amazing. And then when I started wrestling with her, I realized right away that she didn't have the foundation, the fundamentals at all. And so there was like a big empty, like an eggshell that had these pretty things on the outside. But right away, just being, hey, let's just do a little bit, do to me what I do to you. There was like nothing. And it was just like, wow, okay. And then ever since then, she says I make her nervous. So even when she's at shows and has her matches, a lot of times she'd rather me not be there because I don't know if she thinks she's going to disappoint me. Because I'm just like, maybe because everyone else will just say, hey, great job. And I'm just like, do you want to know some advice that maybe could help you get better? You know what I mean? And a lot of people hearing that, as much as it can help. So, I think sometimes that makes her nervous because she knows that I have higher standards than her peers, at these all-girl wrestling shows and some of the stuff that she's doing. So, but she wrestled for Wildcats, and the fans, I noticed right away, the fans love her, and she connects with them, and I see why, she's a sweetheart. So, it's awesome having her with me at conventions and matches whenever I can. It's awesome having her on the road with me. But she did WOW. She did a show for Ring of Honor out here in Vegas. She was with Impact, of course. Mm-hmm. So that's some of her experience. She wrestles for indies. She wrestles for Giant Khali in Australia. And she wrestles for like RCW in Texas quite often. And she takes bookings like an indie wrestler, and I've seen her all along the way improve and get more and more comfortable, just like you do,
Yeah.
But it's amazing that she went straight to those hurricanranas, and now her feet don't leave the ground as much. She's not a high flyer as much once we got her comfortable with more what's her comfort zone. So that's changed, but yeah, I'm not. And I said earlier, I don't know if I'm that good of a teacher because, like I said, I can say something a couple times, and then if you don't get it, I don't understand why you don't get it. You know what I mean? Like, and then I'll show you, and then I'll hurt you, and then you're not having fun anymore.
Well, that's pretty cool, though. Talk about your guys' decision to get married. How'd that all come to be?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think of how that did come to be. We just she ended up moving from New Orleans into my house on the hill in LA for a while, and then we moved together from there to Las Vegas, and we'd been together so long. I considered her my wife. I can't remember when the decision was made or talked about. I don't know. It seems like that's a weird thing to blank on, but I don't know.
No, but it makes sense though, because like if you guys are having like just this organic relationship and you're vibing with one another, it's like, and you to what you just said too, it's like you already felt like you were married to her, so it's like it kind of just goes like that. Like the universe kind of connects like in that in a lot of ways.
It was really organic, but she did always take the driver's seat, and she was aggressive. And if I remember right, I think that she already had like the rings ordered, and so we had already gotten them. And so I felt like there was a limited time to where I should, ask, pop the question and do it now, because there was some dates that sounded good that were in mind. And then plus it was like, I wanted to ask her on Valentine's Day because it was like one of the only days before there's something that was coming up, and she was going on the road for 2 weeks or whatever. So it was kind of like a quick, thing. It wasn't like a big on my knee in the front of the town square kind of thing, but yeah, I mean, we had already ordered the rings, but she was on top of that because it was her brother-in-law's dad. I guess, I don't know what that would be to her, if that's an uncle. But anyway, they made rings, and so I guess our conversation must have led to where it was comfortable to go ahead and be prepared, and just so whenever you're ready, you know.
And it would just worked out like that. So.
Yeah.
Did you guys do anything special for like the honeymoon? Go anywhere? A favorite place?
Not yet. We're still trying to. Yeah, you know, we've had a lot of awesome work trips. We're very fortunate to get booked and go to some really cool places together. But we have yet to go somewhere just for that purpose. We were, before that, it was going to be a divorce trip.
Yeah.
Go to Hawaii or somewhere where neither one of us has been, somewhere tropical. But we never got that. So then it became, / honeymoon is what we'll call it. And then now we still look at the schedule and say, you know, what about, what's August this look like? You know, are you free here? Because we've been busy. But like I said, we've been very fortunate to go places together, you know, Australia, the UK, really cool places and work there too, which, you know, she's a hustler. She probably want to do a signing at our honeymoon vacation anyway. She got an opportunity. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
You mentioned this on one of our earlier episodes too. How would, like, your recent run in Impact with Katie? How did that all happen? Were you two booked before the other, or did they bring you in together? How'd that kind of all happen?
It seems like I was there first. Sabu and I did a match with Pentagon and his brother.
Yeah, Ray Phoenix,
yeah. And I think it was at a WrestleCon weekend, something like that.
That sounds right. Mm-hmm.
And I believe it was shortly after that I guess they were in town because Scott D'Amore met with me at the Nerd Bar. That's like the only place I go whenever I leave home because my friend owns it and it's very wrestler friendly. And he talked about me coming in and being like their Sting is the way that he put it. Mm-hmm. And so we talked and ended up working out. And then it might have been Katie came later. I mean, at first Sabu was there and then Katie was there. And I was like, wow, they're really trying to keep me happy. That's cool. That's what it felt like for a minute.
Yeah.
But then Sabu wasn't there. And then I don't know, they turned me heel and Katie was my manager. There was some, I don't know, it seemed to happen like kind of quick. It's kind of like a big blur.
It was quick. I remember too seeing it on TV and stuff. It was around that time when I first interviewed you. You were like doing the heel turn and all that stuff.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It seemed pretty sudden and stuff. What you mentioned that before too, like how it was a little bit anxiety inducing or something to that effect when you were working with her in the ring, and like just because of it, like just the way you guys, talk about that a little bit. What was it like working for you guys there? Because I remember you saying something to that effect of it was being like a little tenser, not with you two, but just worrying about working in the ring together. So.
Right. Well, so that's, gonna right when I'm going out to the ring, I mean, that's pretty much going to be the most intense part of my day, probably. You know what I mean? I'm all warmed up. I got myself, loosened up, and I got my brain, going where, man, I hope I don't screw up, and hope I pull off anything that's high risk. And I hope, I remember to do everything I want to remember, and hope this goes well. And I mean, there's intensity during the match too, but I mean, right then is where I, boom, pack all this stuff on because, an hour before I'm probably relaxing, stretching, trying to avoid other people that have been worked up all afternoon. So at that point, I'm used to, okay, I'm going to handle all the pressure just right now. And you know what? I got this. I've relied on myself that forever, many years, that's built up a confidence to where I know I can go out there, even if I'm like, wait, I keep getting forgetting, or I keep, there's something it'll come together. A lot of times I go out there like that, and that's from experience. But with Katie, like she'll be like nervous like that, and she'll want to go over, like if she's doing something, coming in with a chair, whatever, she'll want to go over it so many times, and I'm more concerned that she would screw up than I would. You know what I mean? And then also, so that's a big part of it. Just that, and that, I guess I don't come around to being into that high pressured vibration until much later than she would like me to get there. because like earlier in the day or whatever, when they're talking about stuff, I'm just like, yeah, it'll work out.
It'll be fine.
And I think that makes it harder for her, and because I'm like, oh, we'll talk about it later. And then right before we go out there, then I'm used to just bam, everything's going to be cool. We got it. Let's do it. And then, but yeah, there's a whole other factor to add to that that's not used to just getting it all bam thrown on and going out there confidently and knowing everything's going to be good. And so, yeah, it just changes the energy up. It's fun. And like I said before, I wish it would have been cool to have more time to work together. And then we could have come across like a husband and a wife that knew each other in the ring a lot more than we actually know each other in the ring. You know what I mean? But it was fun though. I just, it's something that was still developing,
Yeah. And I felt that very much too. Like when you guys, because it was something different for you to have somebody at your side coming out like that, not Bill Alfonso or anybody like that. So it was neat to see. But yeah, to your point, it was like there was sparks there, and it looked like it was gonna I would have liked to see more for it for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you guys have such a great relationship and everything like that. What's some advice you would give to people that are hoping to try to achieve the same thing with their relationships or trying to get into a relationship? If you had to give some advice in regards to what people are looking for, what would you do?
Well, first off, think about what it is that you're looking for. And if it's something that's selfish because you want someone that'll bust their ass and be there for you and be loyal to you, but at the same time you want to fuck around on her and have a whole bunch of other girls and stuff, then basically you want a girl that wants to be with an asshole. So what kind of girl is that? People a lot of times are mad that their other significant other doesn't trust them, but it's because they don't deserve trust. Yeah. People hurt each other. They hurt each other. And then we know so many people that are together years past a what do you call it? An indiscretion, years past somebody getting caught cheating and they're still brokenhearted, like years past and they still remember it. And it's like, what a thing to do to the person that you're going to spend your whole life with, is to break their heart so that instead of them admiring you and thinking you're the greatest person they could be with, instead they think you're an asshole and they owe you one.
Right. Yeah, exactly right.
and like everybody messes up, but again, it's priorities, and it's people get married too young when they're not ready, or they want to have wild sex parties, but they want to be married to someone that will just be home with, take care of the kids, like Little Miss Homemaker, and then and they want everything, and it's like, hey, I get it. A lot of people want the rock and roll lifestyle, and if that's what you want, then I'm not here shaming you for it, but for breaking the hearts of those that are closest to you and hurting that relationship, I don't know. It doesn't seem like a real good decision. And besides, maybe they're not the closest ones to you after all. And then they think they are. And then what? Then you're basically wasting their life. That's someone's daughter or someone's son or whatever. And they're living a lie thinking that you are devoted to them when in fact you're not at all. That's, it's seeing the big picture like I do now. That's how I see that, and it's like when I was in my early 20s, mid 20s, how old was I? Anyway, yeah, early 20s, mid 20s. I was definitely looking back. I was definitely like a major a-hole, and I'm so glad that I grew from that. When I recognized that in other people, I was just like, oh my God, that person has so much growing to do if they will.
Yeah.
Because I'm so not that person that would wait till the girlfriend that I was staying with, living at her place on her dime, and then she'd go to work and I'd have the neighbor that lives a couple apartments down come over and bang her on this girl's couch. You know what I mean? And it's like, and at the time it was like, yeah, I'm a stud. And now I'm like, what a jerk. I'm like, man, I hope I paid all that karma back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how life works as it comes around, But again, I do everything to avoid drama now. So that's my number one goal in life. And that's the foundation behind all of my decisions. So that's why I look at it the way that I do.
That's definitely a good foundation to have, is avoid drama. No doubt. Yeah. All right. Well, cool. That was really neat to kind of talk about. And I think Katie's great, and you guys have such a great relationship. So it's kind of cool to see that all. So thanks for sharing that. So, absolutely. All right. It's Rob Van Dam match. We're going to hit it. And today's match, it took place on June 27th, 1998, but it actually aired on July 4th of 1998. Do you know which one I might be talking about, Rob?
It aired on July 4th, 1990, you said?
1998.
1998.
Here's the singlet you wore.
I think is that a match with Jerry Lynn?
No, nope.
I don't know.
Okay, it's when you and Sabu won the tag team titles against Lance Storm and Chris Candido. So,
dudes.
Yep.
Sabu threw me in, and I had to roll and cover Lance Storm for the win. I remember that. No, that was my Terry Taylor story. No.
That was your Terry Taylor. Hey, if you see Taylor, Terry, tell him I'm looking for him.
Yeah.
All right. So, let's see here. Looking at the notes, you and Sabu had an interesting angle going on at the time. You were a team, but you're also, let's call it, friendly rivals. We're about a month removed from your match.
He was jealous. That's what it was.
That's what it was. You were about a month removed from your match with him at WrestlePalooza, which we covered at the pay-per-view. We talked about it a few weeks ago. What are your memories of the angle with Sabu? Did you guys think you were going to wrestle each other again soon on a pay-per-view, or was that not really talked about too much? You guys wouldn't actually wrestle each other until Guilty as Charged in January 2000. So was there any talks about you guys going to butt heads earlier on afterwards when that happened at WrestlePalooza?
I have no idea. Excuse me.
Well, leading up to this match, you four competed in a dream partner match at the ECW Arena during the Matter of Respect 1998 event. You teamed with Lance Storm to take on his partner, Chris Candido, and your partner, Sabu. The match ended in a no contest when Storm hit everyone with the chair and was about to hit you, but you stopped him and reminded him that you two were partners, and then you hit him with the Van Daminator, hard-weighing him badly.
Hard-weighed Lance?
You hard-weighed Lance, uh-huh.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. Then you and Sabu left Chris laying, and then you finally showed up. Sabu publicly by high-fiving him to a big pop. Do you have any memories of that at all in the match? No? Okay. No big deal.
But I'm thinking, I had that match with Sabu with Matter of Respect, which is where when I first came in and started the angles with Sabu, and got the song from
Pantera.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
To go with that. So that was definitely 96. How was there a Matter of Respect 98? Did that become, or was that an annual pay-per-view? Maybe it was before I even got there. I don't know.
Yeah, it might have been. This was, according to Chris here, Matter of Respect 98. So I'll follow up on that though for sure. Well, here, how about this? What did you think about Chris and Lance as a team? Did you enjoy the matches that you and Sabu had with them? Like them vibing up with one another?
Yeah, I knew that it was going to be a good match. I knew that they were going to probably maybe complain about my stiffness if I was stiff. I mean, those would just be two guys, that would point it out or something, maybe, but I liked both of them, and the crowd liked both of them, and so I thought it was a good team. I think they were good friends, so it seemed natural to me. I think that Lance traveled with Chris and Tammy, if I'm not mistaken. So they were definitely a good team, and I don't remember what happened when we beat them for the gold, or what I was eating when I was first told that we might be the champions, or what shirt I had on. No, I don't know, man. You remember, but you remember, like I said, like when we talked about the Cena match and the questions, like when they were kind of marky like that about when did you know this or that or whatever, stuff that he's dying to know. If you remember how I answered that and got emotional, it was like I did not allow myself to believe it anyway, so I don't even know, because anytime something was mentioned, you have to take it with a grain of salt. At least I felt like you did. You had to if you were me, because that's how I would deal with stuff. They could have said, hey, you're gonna win the battle royal tonight, and I'm like, oh, okay. It just, you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't. That doesn't mean it's gonna happen anyway. And I got forced to learn that the hard way after being there. Right. So it wasn't like, hey, I thought I was supposed to win the battle royal. Instead it's just like, oh yeah, I get it. That's how most things happen. So it wasn't until I beat Cena, it wasn't until that 3 count anyway that I then allowed myself to believe that I would be in that championship spot at that time. So, so it's not like there's meetings, like after the show and like, Paul, when are me and Sabu gonna have the belts? Like I think it should be No Way Out or No Forgiven. I don't know, man. Whatever.
At different times. Yeah, no, I get it. Well, I'm excited to kind of get your reaction on this. So I found this clip. Now, this interview or backstage promo you guys did, I think aired. It was the week before the match or 2 weeks before the match. I can't remember. Either way, it's great. It speaks to what you were saying about you getting your confidence and behind the mic and stuff like that. So let's check this out real quick. So, no, it speaks to what you were saying, Rob. Like, definitely feeling the vibe of it all.
Yeah. And I miss having Sabu to play off of too, like that.
Yeah, because you're like, hey, all right, fine, whatever. Like it's just like, yeah, definitely. And like him not saying anything's great too, I think.
No, I don't think I had the RVD yet, because for a while I would just kind of keep it up there and not really do the one for each letter of my initials.
Well, I think it was definitely cool stuff. And then I think the following week, then Chris and Lance responded to you guys, but I don't have that clip. But either way, so we talked about a little bit. The finish here was kind of cool because you and Sabu ended up winning the match, and the titles were put. You put Chris through the table at the same time. You guys did. Sabu did the leg drop, and then you think you did the 5-star or splash through the table, and that's how you guys got the win ultimately. But the pop you guys got was nuts. It was one of the biggest pops in the history of the ECW arena.
Whoa.
Yeah. So did it feel pretty good to win the tag team titles? Like, was that like, hey, all right, that's something else, and kind of validate you and Sabu's like pairing together and everything like that?
It felt incredible.
There we go.
So, man, it was the Sheik's boys, collecting all the gold. So that's cool.
That's definitely cool. And this made you double champion. You held the TV title at the same time.
Which is the only time I like to have a belt on my waist. When I have two belts, which I've had several times throughout my career, I like to have it around my waist. Otherwise, I hate that. I just want to have it on my shoulder. So yeah. I'll have the belt snapped up waiting for me before I go through the curtain so I can put my arm through it, right? Mm-hmm. And there's some idiot that thinks they're helping by unsnapping it so they can put it on my waist. And I'm like, dude, snap that fucking thing back up. Grab it from him. Stupid.
Give me that shit. Now you just didn't like how it felt on the waist, or like just how it looked, and what was it? Just your preference kind of thing?
Well, I know that I liked the 2 championship belts because it felt like armor. You know, it felt like I was man at arms from He-Man, Master of the Universe. Like I was shielded. You go ahead, shoot me, dude. You can't. And I think, I don't know, like with the belt, I just, I like to hold it. And a lot of times my music would hit and I'd be back there, snap, 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 because some idiot unsnapped it, and now I got to snap at least a few of them so it doesn't break when I go out there, because I like to have it around my shoulder. I put it on my shoulder, high five everybody. And then I like diving under the bottom rope and rolling and then going up, and putting my hands up. Same thing I do with or without the belt, but it's so easy to do with the belt right here, and then just like hold it up. And I like doing that over, trying to slide under the bottom rope without the bottom rope unsnapping it and just going real slow, like a turtle. Let the other guys be a turtle. I'm the whole fucking show, damn it.
That's right.
The whole fucking show, daddy.
Yeah, that's pretty good too.
Yeah.
All right.
Set Fonzie on a live. We'll do a live with Fonzie sometime.
I think that would be great. We should definitely do that. Get another RVD roundtable happening.
And Sabu, yeah.
Oh, that'd be badass. Yep. Heck yeah. All right. Shane Douglas was the world champ at the time, but he was out with some injuries during this time. He was actually commentating this match with Joey Styles. You said you felt like you became a superstar when you won the TV title from Bam Bam Bigelow. When you won the tag titles here and became double champion, did you feel like now you were the man, the top guy in ECW, or is it like, all right, I still want to get the world title?
I don't think I was even paying attention to what was going on with the world title. Yeah, I was on my own path, loving it, and hit that destination point, goal achieved, bam, and just as far as I was concerned, that's what my fans were watching, and that's what they were going to continue watching, was me on my path of Van Damage, and so it was a while until I thought about the idea of building up Mike Awesome and RVD when the company was growing,
Yeah. You're definitely on your own path, and like, kind of the neat thing about it too is like, yeah, you had this television title, and then you established it in a lot of ways. So, pretty darn neat. All right. So it's we'll only do a couple of Ask RVDs here before we close it out with RVDology. Let me see here. We'll save this one. This one we talk. Somebody's asked about AJPW, but we'll hold off on that because I'm sure you can expand on that a little bit. But so something neat that was that I was on a New York Jets podcast, and the guy was a huge wrestling fan, and he actually knows about your old team tag team partner from NCW. Is it in Vegas?
Yeah.
Bill Bradley, is that his name, or
Bobby?
Bob Bradley, yeah. talk about that a little bit. He was talking about that quite a bit to me, and I was like, oh, I got to mention that to Rob. So
yeah, my first time coming to Las Vegas was a promoter named TC Martin, and he had taken over pretty much from. I'm trying to think. I'm blanking on the guy's name. Well, you wouldn't care except for it's a Unsolved Mysteries episode on Netflix. Like who killed the promoter before TC Martin? Not who, but did he? It was a crazy. Yeah, it was big. Anyway, we can come back to that if you want. It's Buffalo Jim was the guy, the local guy. He was the local wrestler. He promoted shows, and he had an office that was on the corner of this big building that was a strip club that the mafia ran, the Chicago Mafia, and they fought all the time. They wanted to buy him out. They wanted him to leave. He wouldn't do it. He was keeping a stooge list, telling the FBI about everything they were doing. And they had all kinds of shams. They had Rick Rizzolo was the guy that was running it, and man, like Spilatro's brothers were there, and the cop that was in Joe Blasky, the cop turned mobster. And Godfather worked there. He was one of the guys there too during this time. Man, it's great. He knows a lot of stories. But anyway, at this time, they were really taking advantage of the customers. It was Crazy Horse 2, and customers would come in, and the girls would like get him drunk, and then ring up a huge, ridiculous bill. And if they complained, the bouncers would take him outside and beat him up in the parking lot. Yeah, it was crazy. They had possibly an escort service in the limousine, all kinds of crazy shit. They killed one guy was a quadriplegic. They didn't kill him. That was in the back parking lot, paralyzed the rest of his life. And so, anyway, this dude Buffalo Jim kept on top of all that. And then he ends up dead. And if you want to watch the episode, it's called "Death in a Hotel," and it's last year's 2022 October season of Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix. Great episode. I've always been into that because I love the mobster stuff, but also they could do like a whole nother movie. Basically, if there was a sequel to Casino, it would lead right into Crazy Horse 2, and that was the Chicago mob as well, plus some guys from New York, and crazy. But anyway, my first few times coming out to Vegas, that dude Buffalo Jim was on those shows, and he gave guys he might have given me a ride from the airport one time. I'm not sure. It's so long ago, my memory's fuzzy. I think maybe he did, but Sabu knew him really well. But anyway, TC Martin takes over, and he makes me a tag team with this guy, Bobby Bradley, because Bobby could do moonsaults and flying head scissors and stuff. And so we were the aerial assault. And so that was when I just started getting my outfits airbrushed and stuff, because I was wrestling for Baba. And so we had made a couple for him that matched my first couple, which are pretty I don't want to say lame, but really not that detailed. My first thought was I wanted a little silhouette of me doing a flying sidekick in the air and a lightning bolt as my pathway. I'm in front of it, and that was what it was on a red outfit, on a blue outfit. Bobby had a blue outfit with it, and we did a lot of cool, fun tag team moves. He had been wrestling with the Mexican wrestlers. He was from California and Vegas, this area that I was still on the East Coast then, and so we did a lot of cool stuff. I would throw him over me, and he would give someone a Hurricane Rana. And he would do the Hurricane Rana off of my shoulders, off the top rope. I'd have the guy up on my shoulders, and he would Hurricane Rana the guy. But we stole that from, I think it was Eddie Guerrero and Art Barr at that Mexican When Worlds Collide pay-per-view. But did a lot of cool moves and had fun. We both liked diving to the floor, moonsaults, all kinds of stuff. So we were aerial assault, and sometimes they're commentating. They call us Robbie and Bobby.
Robbie and Bobby.
Yeah. He's a good guy. I got him booked in All Japan, and he did a tour over there and had a lot of fun. Also, as my partner, when Baba said that he wanted me to find a partner, but he didn't cut the make the cut, as far as that goes in Baba's eyes, as far as what they were looking for a new partner for me. They were looking at Mike Lazansky, the Canadian Tiger. But Bobby, he could do all these moves, but he wasn't visually appealing outside of the moves. He didn't work out, didn't look like he worked out, kind of had a bit of a pear shape kind of, and was balding. And so there was only so much I could do for him. He was like, I'm going to do whatever you say, Rob. You got me. You said you'd get me in Japan, and you did. And he's like, I owe you. And I was just like, I can only do what I can do, bro.
Yeah, right. Hey, Rob, it's time to wrap it up.
We're there again, huh?
We're here again. It is RVDology.
Okay. Well, you heard me say this a couple times during the episode. At least I noticed it, as I always do, because that's what's going to happen, with these principles. I'm going to point it out, but everything is subjective. Okay. So for me, when I said that I avoid drama, I mean, that's actually, I love it when at the end of the episode, I can go back and piece different parts of it together and bring it all in, make it make sense, like Hannibal, I think his name was, in the A-Team, when he said, I love it when a plan comes together. So, I went through a really rough time. I had a couple of years, when the marriage was on the rocks, falling apart, where I was drinking a lot and things are pretty shitty overall. And I talked about that rock bottom, and I talk a lot about it on tonight's episode, and there's a reason. But out of that bullshit was this beautiful flower, and that would be Katie. Amazingly, I met her right then, and she ended up being the best part of my life as well. But I had to rebuild myself because I was so down, and when I did, I had to put my spirit first. So I reprioritized. I had to. It was out of necessity, and since then, my spirit still always is first. I make my decisions based on that. How much is it going to bring my spiritual vibration down? Is that worth what the compensation is, or the opposite, whatever? So because of that, I avoid drama. Like I said, drama, fighting, arguing, that kind of stuff brings my vibe down. Now, a good debate has a good place anywhere. I avoid unnecessary conversation a lot of times. I mean, unless I'm in a silly mood, and I'm the quiet guy. So yeah, you could say, "Ooh, you must be real fun at a party." No, the person that's trying to be loud and obnoxious, to me, that's annoying. But it might be cool for you if that's what you're used to. If you and your family is loud, I probably will find that disruptive to my zen, as I often do find loud people. But that's just subjective. That's for me. And so the other day I was on the airplane, and this lady was so loud behind, and she was nice, but she was so loud, and she was annoying. And she was rude, not just because her voice, because she was loud. She was like, "So how many times have you been to Vegas? Or how long are you staying? 7 days. Oh my God. wow, I'm jealous. I wish I should have done 7 days. Anyway, to further cement and confirm that she was rude, she had some little video that she was watching on full blast. Who does that on the airplane? She was watching the Kardashians, and they were talking about Travis Barker or whatever. I could hear it. I couldn't help but hear it. Who does that without headphones and listens on full blast so everybody has to hear it? I just thought, wow, that lady's obnoxious. But that's for me. I mean, you know what? That might be you. That might be your best friend, your sister, your mom, whatever. And maybe that's cool with you. For me, that's not my cup of tea. I don't like to be around that. And you might find that boring, but that's what subjective means. Everything is subjective, and a lot of time is wasted arguing over stupid things. If I would have known when I was a kid, if somebody would have schooled me on RVDology and just said, hey, you know what? Everything is subjective, dude. So there is no right or wrong answer when it comes to opinions. If I would have learned that, all the time I could have saved arguing over stupid stuff like who's the better superhero, you know, or who's cooler, or who's the better looking girl. Dude, there's not an actual, but bros will still spend time, and bros spend a lot of time doing things that would be disruptive to my zen. But that's one of them. They're constantly judging each other. They're constantly in competition. And they could actually have a conversation that could last a half hour. Bro, dude, David thinks that Michelle's hotter than Nicole. What? Can you believe that? Dude, there isn't a right or wrong answer because everything is subjective. So I just think that you should keep that in mind. And it'll help a lot of things if, like me, you would rather just be passive and understand things instead of confronting them. You know, a lot of people's idea of paradise is way different. And when we grow up, ideas are passed on to us from our parents, elders, people that we respect, you know. So if mom and dad thought that living in a cabin out in the middle of the woods away from everybody is paradise, having 4 miles of property and not having to worry about anybody seeing what you're doing, if that's their idea of paradise, then that's great. But that's not everybody's. And to me, that sounds like hell. Get me out of the fucking woods, please. Immediately. Move that cabin up to closer to the street, you know, something. That's not for me. Okay. Some people, hey man, there's nothing better than relaxing on a Sunday noon out in the boat, in the middle of the pond, fishing. Okay, great. But please understand that's subjective to you and your views and your principles. So don't be confused and shocked if somebody else doesn't find that to be their ideal way of passing the day, myself included. You know, I took offense to somebody on Twitter one day when I was having my conversations with my followers. Someone said, if you think sugar is bad for you, you're just stupid. And I responded because I was thinking, hey, I don't want this guy telling my followers that sugar is good for them. It's one of the worst drugs there is out there. And it's horrible, you know. And so I said, hey, you're just stupid, period. No, and I was like, what are you talking about? You're talking about glucose in your bloodstream? Anyway, I thought about it, and I'm like, you know, that's subjective too. Like, what if your goal is you want to be sick? What if you want to die? Then sugar is great for you, right? Then it's great for your goals. So when you think about it, even when it comes like that, everyone wants to say you should do this, you shouldn't do that. Well, guess what? That is subjective based on you, based on your values, you know. You could say, hey, dancing is the funnest time ever. I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that. I don't enjoy the concept. You're not gonna see me on the dance floor. And you're not gonna see me being the loud guy that has to have everyone's attention. Why? I'm fulfilled in that area. I'm an entertainer when I'm working. So when I'm not working, I'm fine with the loud guy, except he's obnoxious. But I'm fine with him getting all the attention, and everybody just go ahead and leave me alone. Just let me have my beer in the corner. That's me in the corner. I also, usually we talk about last week, and maybe you might have learned from it, and how you could have applied that, over the week. Last week, we talked about how perception is reality, right?
Mm-hmm, yep.
So that same thing, all of this stuff is related because it's real. That's why it all works together in a very compatible way. If you're, think about, how people, when they have their first drink of beer, they get silly, they get drunk. Experienced drinkers could laugh at saying, I remember when I had my first beer too, because the person's acting like they can't handle it, right?
Right.
People don't think about that with marijuana. Why? Because although over 50% of the country's adults admit to having smoked it, most of them don't smoke it often or regularly. And that doesn't mean smoking a bowl once a week on Fridays before you go out, because that's not going to get your tolerance up. So most people, because perception is reality, they think that when they smoked that one time and it got them really goofy and they couldn't find their keys in their own pocket, they think that's how everybody else is when they're smoking. But it's just like with drinking. Like any experienced smoker would look at the way cannabis consumers are portrayed by the proud ignorant in the same way. People think, but really, like, that's when you start out. And if you don't go anywhere with it, then fine. But if that's your only memory of it and you're thinking, I don't think somebody should smoke and get behind the steering wheel of a car, and it's based on that one time that you were stupid, well, guess what? It can think about it more about like when you had your first beer. But to those people, perception is reality, and then also in the same regard, that's the idea of how cannabis affects somebody is completely subjective to so many factors. How about this? If I told you, and this is a made-up number, but if I told you that there was 150,000 car crashes a year in the United States where marijuana was a factor, what if I told you, just open up your mind and think, what if marijuana was on the scene but really wasn't a factor in how the accident happened? Could that be possible?
Yeah.
That's how they get their statistics. What if it wasn't even just on the scene, like found in the car? What if it was in the person's body? Because marijuana will still show up in your body for 30 days after you smoke, depending on how much you smoked and how often you smoked. So they're going to get these statistics by saying he had marijuana in his system when it had nothing to do with what happened to cause that accident. If you can open up your mind enough just to think, wow, even statistics are subjective to factors, then hopefully I'm preventing you from being so much of a sucker that you hear everything and you just take it without questioning it. They just throw numbers out there, and it's like, is that a global number or is that a national number? They don't even bother saying that because people just automatically get the facts. Wow, there's 400,000 people a year that die. Like what? You don't even know. You don't even know what they're telling you, and they don't know either. And so statistics, what aren't subjective is facts. Okay, if you want to say, okay, which baseball player hit the most amount of balls in his career. Well, guess what? That's a fact somewhere. So if someone's arguing with that, then there should be resources for one of you to just clearly win that. If you want to say who's the better ball player, that's subjective. Everything is.
Yeah, how about that? And you're right too. It's like I think about, like my brother, he would want to live out in the middle of nowhere, like away from everybody. I could not stand it. I would go nuts. I could not do it. And so it's just like, but that's his version of like where his ultimate place to live and everything like that. Not for me. No way. So.
Exactly. Yeah. People think about all the people that argue about the bands, or the music, or, who's the better rock and roll legend, or even who's the better wrestler. You know what I mean? Like, there isn't a winner to those arguments. So unless you're just enjoying wasting time, which if you want to do that's fine. It's just not a productive thing to do. And a lot of times it's downright conflicting with being productive.
Yeah, you see it all the time on social media. All the time.
Hey, but what about what happened to you during the week where you said, hey, you know what? That's right. Perception is reality.
Well, you know what? I always factor it into with a family and how it like just reverted back to like my perception of what fatherhood is, or what living the life of an adult is, like anything to that effect. Like it made me kind of very much think about the different elements of how I am now an adult, and how I perceive that as a kid is very different from what it actually was in my perception of it all. And then like, and then I think too of my brother has a daughter and stuff like that, and how he handles his daughter is completely different how my dad handled us and stuff like that. It's just, how we perceived it all was that's the way life is, and that's the way family is, and it's completely different. So that's always a constant running through my head. So perception is always something very key with me.
Yeah, a lot of fans will watch these clips on YouTube, and whether or not it's worth them hitting the like button and helping us out, that's subjective to them, whether it's worth it. It might not be worth it. There's usually like 3 people maybe that for them, they're like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and hit this like button. But for some people, they're like, nah, man. You got to work harder than that, man. You want me to hit like? They hold that power in high prestige. So
they do. They hold it all.
By the way, I've been trying to keep up with some of the YouTube, the comments on there and stuff, which, if that's why you're not commenting, dude, I'm reading a lot of them. But I took a screenshot of this because it was so funny and relevant, as I said, it always is. But something about Vince, there was a clip that we talked about Vince and his response after I got busted with the cannabis. Yeah. And somebody wrote that they got what they deserved, especially Rob. How irresponsible they couldn't even wait to get high until they got to the hotel room, especially when everyone's like investing money in you and something like that. And I was thinking, perception is reality. You know what I mean? Like to this person, although not only were we not smoking in the car, but I've never ever even seen that reported anywhere. This kid's comment is the first time I'd heard it reported that we couldn't wait to get to the hotel room and we were smoking, and that's why, and that was his issue, And but anyway, the weed was rolled up in a bag in the center console, and I didn't even get arrested. But to this kid, in his mind, maybe it was his teachers or something, that taught him, Rob and Sabu were smoking while they were driving, and that's how they ruined their career. Perception is reality. So if there's other people out there that to them it went down a complete different way than it actually went down, and they'll always think that.
Right. And it goes back to what you were saying too a few weeks even before about assuming,
It all works together. I'm glad you understand the net of values and the energy that links them all together. Hopefully we got some other people they get it as well. You know, when I did the signing last week in where that was, I in New Jersey, had some fans telling me they enjoy the podcast and telling me that they enjoy the RVDology we do at the end, and how it some people tell me how it's helped them out or whatever. So that's very encouraging, you know?
Yeah. And that's what
fucking like button or I'll hit your face.
Right. That's not subjective. An RVD stiff kick is not subjective. He'll let you know. Well, cool, Rob. Are you going to Knoxville this weekend? Is that where you're heading to?
Yeah, Fanboy. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Just a limited time on Saturday, though. I'll only be there in the morning.
Oh, okay. So if you guys are watching this on Premiere, be sure to, if you're in the Knoxville area, go say hi to Rob. And there's a lot of cool other stuff going on there, too. So cool. Yeah, this has been a good episode. It was neat to hear about Katie and neat to kind of get your perspective on all that. So
my favorite subject. YouTube Christmas.
Well, guys, yes, like Rob said, be sure to give us a like on there if you're liking the clips. Feel free to comment. Constructive criticism is always good. You want to trash me? Fine. That's okay with me, too. I'm okay with that. And, yes, if you want to get Rob, hit Rob up on Twitter at @TheRealRVD. Hit me up on Twitter at Dominic DeAngelo. Follow the pod at RVD Pod, and that's on Instagram. That's on Twitter. But look above. Go to rvdpod.com. You can see all the clips there. And if you want to watch the full episode, you can only get that on the Premier Streaming Network. So every Friday at 4:20. But the podcast, the audio version, releases every Monday, Mr. Monday Night at 4:20. So, guys.
Thank you, Dom.
Yep.
You're an awesome host.
Hey, thanks, man. Thanks. You make it easy, Rob. You make it easy.
Let's do it again next week.
Let's do it again next week. We'll see you guys next time here.
Awesome.
I was waiting for some kind of sign, some kind of indication I was wasting my time.